Okay, now the name of this video, of course, is controversial. This is Yahudah ben Yisrael, and the name of this video is a little controversial. Of course it is. But let me first start off by explaining why there's such a focus on female sexual behavior, okay? And it's a real simple explanation for it. And it's because there's no real way to tell if a man has ever had sex before. It's just that simple. There's no medical examination that can be given to a man to tell if he's had sex. But there are two ways to tell if a woman has had sex. If her hymen is broken, which I know a lot of you all don't even know what that is. A lot of women don't even know what that is. But that's that thin piece of skin inside a woman's vagina that's broken the first time she actually has sex, and she bleeds. And it's accurate probably 80% of the time. It can be broken by accident, and they say some women are born with one. But you know, there's arguments about that. But the second way to tell if a woman has had sex is if she becomes pregnant. But again, there's no real way to tell if a man has had sex, especially thousands of years ago. Now the only way to tell is if you test his DNA, or even if you do a blood test, you can't tell if it's the man that got her pregnant or if it's the man that had sex with her, if you're able to find any type of evidence. The only way you can tell is with a DNA test, and that's brand new. So that's why there's such a focus on women and their sexual behavior. It's just that simple. It's nothing personal. But because it's the bottom line, and what that is saying is that as women, they hold all the cards. They actually have the power. And it's something that, you know, especially black men now are starting to say a lot more. Because, you know, a lot of women complain about black men, you know, not taking care of their children and all these other complaints. But, you know, you have to lay down with these men. You have to be the ones having unprotected sex with these men. You actually hold, as women, you are they. If there are women who are looking at this, because I'm mainly making these videos for men. But if there are women looking at this, you hold all the power. You hold all the power when it comes to sex. All you have to do is tell him to stop, put on a condom. All you have to do is tell him no. And if he rapes you, then of course it's against the law, and it's against biblical law too, and I'm going to get into that. But what this video is about is how to make women responsible for their sexual health and behavior. So I'm going to get into that. And you know what? I'm going to start with a particular law, and I'm gonna have to go through some notes for this one, because, and if the thing is too, I want to say too, is that I use the King James Version of the Bible. And the reason I use the King James Version of the Bible, most Hebrew Israelites use the King James Version of the Bible, is because it's the most, it's the closest to the original translation that there is. And I say that because a lot of those translations that are out there now, they are so bad, especially when it comes to the laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments, that it's just ridiculously bad, you know. And that's something that really pisses me off, because most of the people who are translating these are people who consider themselves Christians, who don't even believe in the law, and will tell you in a heartbeat not even to read the Old Testament. Don't worry about it. We don't have to worry about that. We're in the new. But they're up there trying to translate the Old Testament and trying to bring some understanding to the law. You know, for those of you who didn't see my first video, this is not my first video, but one of my videos. This is the main reason why I made this YouTube channel. But I'm going to start with something, and it is Deuteronomy chapter 23, and it's verse 17, and it says, "There shall be no whore of the daughters of Israel, nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel." Now, you know, that's cut and dry, okay? So that basically what that means is if a woman ends up pregnant, then she's broken the law. If she doesn't have a husband, she's broken the law. I mean, you don't have to judge a woman to know that. If you see her, she's pregnant. You know she's not married. She played the whore in her father's household. You know, she has broken the law. It would be like if the speed limit says 55 miles per hour, and you see somebody and you can clock them going 75, it's pretty obvious they've broken the law. And I want to start with that scripture. The next scripture that I want to move on to is Deuteronomy 22, and that's verse 28. And that is, if a man be found lying with a woman married to a husband, 22 and 28. If a man find a damsel that is a virgin, which is not betrothed, and lay hold on her and lie with her, and they be found, Then the man that lay with her shall give unto the damsel's father 50 shekels of silver, and she shall be his wife, because he hath humbled her. He may not put her away all his days. Now, the reason why I brought up the translations too is because in some of these translations, it'll say that he raped her, but that's not what this says. It just says if they be found lying together, he could hold on to her. You know what I'm saying? In other words, they just got together and they had sex. This is not rape. So this is not making rape legal. Okay? Rape is very illegal. And I'm going to read a scripture that talks about that too. It's very clear. Rape is illegal in the Bible. It is not legal. I just want to get that out of the way. But the reason why I'm reading this scripture, and I'm going to read one more that goes along with this. And this is Exodus 22. And this says, if a man, Exodus 22 verse 16, if a man entice a maid that is not betrothed and lie with her, he shall surely endow her to be his wife. If her father utterly refuses to give her unto him, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. Okay. This is one of the ways that you can hold a woman responsible for her sexual behavior even in 2012, because you see what right here, what happens when she gets pregnant and she's not married. She's supposed to get married. So, and I know I might get some flack for this, but what this is saying, and I hear a lot of people starting to do this now. If your friend or family member ends up pregnant and they're not married, I'm not saying you shouldn't be happy for them. I'm not saying you should wish them to have a healthy child. Of course you should do those things. But you should also say to, or ask them, when do they plan on getting married? You should also ask them, do they know who the father is? Even if they have a boyfriend, ask them that, because like I explained earlier, we really don't know who the father is, now do we? All you can do is take her word for it. All the man that may be her boyfriend can do is take her word for it. This is why I'm glad that we have DNA tests now. You know, is she getting married? Is she sure that the baby is her boyfriend's? And once you get some answers to those questions, if you're her father or her mother especially, once you get answers to those questions, then you can be happy that she's having a child. Because I hear now, I've heard even women, I've heard black women now say they don't even go to baby showers where it's a single mother. You know, she's not married. They don't even go to the baby showers. They're not even celebrating it. But what this does is this puts some type of pressure on her, you know, to help her and the other women around her to understand that, no, this is not okay. We're supposed to be focused on marriage here, you know. And I'm glad I hear people now saying that, you know, because it's true. And looking at the black family, you know, there used to be a time when, if you remember, when this is what happened back in the day. If she ended up pregnant, find out who the guy was, and if he says, yeah, I slept with her, okay, when are y'all getting married? You know, 50, 60 years ago. And it wasn't because they were trying to be mean. It was because they didn't want this behavior to become acceptable. You know, that's why. And believe me, they didn't force them to get married. Most of the time, if the young lady said, I really don't want to marry him, nothing has changed much. Most men, just like today, would do what their daughters want. So if she didn't want to marry the man, she probably didn't have to marry him. You know, that's just how that is. Nothing has changed much when it comes to that. So that's the reason why. That's one reason to hold a woman responsible for her sexual behavior. Now, I want to say something, too, about this scripture, and a lot of people miss this. And again, this is how it's applicable to today. At the end of verse 17, it says, he shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. Okay, it doesn't say here, I'm going to repeat that. He shall pay money according to the dowry of virgins. Now, there's another scripture, and I'm probably going to get into it later, that says that when a man first gets married, he's to take a year off and not be charged with any servile work. So imagine that. A man gets married, he takes a year off. Money gets paid to the dowry of virgins if somebody else if a woman gets pregnant. In other words, she doesn't get any money. She doesn't get child support in the law, in these laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments. She doesn't get housing. She doesn't get vehicles. She doesn't get money for school. She doesn't get any of the things that get paid out to women in 2012. That money goes to the dowry of the virgins, and it should also go to the man who, once he gets married, has that year off. So what you have here is you have public policy getting established. That's what we call it today, public policy. That's what that is. Nowhere in this law does she get anything, does she get any type of reward for getting pregnant and not being married. It's not in here. But who does get rewarded is the virgins, the women who do not have sex until they are married. They are the ones who get rewarded for another woman's behavior. And like I said, this is important because what this does is this establishes a public policy. I heard a pastor the other day talking about the law that says a man should take a year off after he gets married to comfort. It says to comfort his wife, right? And he said, well, this is not possible in 2012. And you know why? Because most of the money is going to women who get pregnant and who have children out of wedlock. That's why. If you put that money aside, if you take that money away from the women that's getting pregnant out of wedlock, number one, most of them weren't getting pregnant because, especially, I'm 38 now, especially when I was in my 20s, every woman I knew that was having children out of wedlock, she knew exactly where to go, how to get the money she needed to get. She knew everything she could get, and she jumped on and she got every last penny of it. It was like a grapevine or something. It was like they all knew. It was like osmosis. It just went into their head somehow. They just knew how to get what they needed to get. Well, see, if you take that money away from them, first of all, most of them wouldn't be getting pregnant as much as they are, and that money would be going to the dowry of the virgins, and that money will be going to men once they get married. And they could take a year off.